Sabeda.
Yes, sir. A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to one and all present here. I'm Sabeta Shinu, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to our fourth conference keynote session titled Strategies and System Implementation for Secure Electronic Written Exam. We, the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science of SRM Ishwari Engineering College, was honored to organize our first 2 days international virtual conference on machine learning application in applied science and mathematics on March 30 and 31st. I would like to send a warm greeting to our respected guest, Professor Osvaldo Gervasi, our head of department, Dr. Kanagasubbu sir, our coordinators, Ms. Revati ma'am and Dr. Vijay sir, and all other participants. I would like to invite our head of department, Dr. Kanagasubbu sir, to address the gathering.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to all. I welcome today's chief guest, Professor Osvaldo Gervasi, Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering and Mathematics, University of Perugia, Italy. Welcome, sir. And I welcome all the participants for this conference. So without participants, we cannot conduct this conference. So once again, I thank you all the participants for this conference, and I welcome our first year and second year artificial intelligence and data science students and my faculty members for this first international conference on virtual conference on machine learning and applications. So regarding this conference, and we received around 228 papers received. So out of 228 papers, we selected 112 papers only presented yesterday and today. And so in the reviewing process, totally 198 faculty involved in the reviewing process. And all the selected papers will be published in AAP conference proceedings, which is indexed in Scopus database. And today's chief guest topic is strategies and system implementation for secure electronic written exams. And this topic is very useful for all the participants as well as students. So I'm sure this keynote session very useful for all of you. So already we conducted 3 keynote sessions, and today now conducting another one keynote session 4. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your words, sir. I would like to introduce our keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Osvaldo Gervasi. He is Associate Professor at the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science in Perugia. He is having a university interest in computational science, high performance computing, virtual and augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and web programming. He has published over 26 publications in just past 5 years, resulting in more than 150 publications, including papers, book chapters, and conference proceedings till now. He has co-authored over 100 books on having a technique experience in numerous reputed institutions. His expertise in research and contribution to education is unwavering. We are highly privileged to have you with us today, sir. The session is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
I would like to thank the organizer of the conference for the very kind and warm invitation and for your words. Okay, let's start the presentation. First of all, I want to thank my research team. We are 4 people, and we are active in several aspects of computational science, virtual reality, and augmented reality, and how to deploy cloud, reliable application on cloud, and also spanning also from adopting different parallelization strategies like programming GPUs and so on. I'm also the president of the International Conference in Computational Science and Application not-for-profit organization, which is in charge of running the conference ICCSA since 2013. This year, the conference will be held in Malaga in blended form, part in presence, part virtual. The call for papers is still open until April 12th. If you are interested, please visit iccsa.org website. And the topic today is related to our recent work on an e-assessment platform, which is called LibEOL. And the most relevant aspect of this work has been recently published on IEEE Access Journal. On top left, you can see the title of the paper just was published in February this year with the same title of my presentation. And it has been a very challenging experience because, as I will say, the platform is quite old, more than 20 years, but in 2020 we made a profound restructuring of the code and the extension in order to enable remote exams. That means the students from home, because of COVID disease, were able to take their exams. I will talk later about these details. As mentioned in your kind introduction, we have an experience using artificial intelligence. In the top right, you can see one paper of a couple of years ago related to the emotion recognition using transfer learning techniques. And at the bottom, there is on the left side one recent paper related on TACO, transaction on architecture and code optimization, a journal of ACM, was a very interesting paper related to the optimization on using machine learning approach on GPUs. Finally, on the bottom part right is the oldest paper. It's related to the is a future generation computer system paper related to the integration, some strategy to integrate some grid approach. We had a strong experience on grid computing, particularly on the European grid managed by CERN, and this work was related to integration of some approaches of grid into cloud, and was an interesting paper that showed how authors can benefit of both approaches in order to improve their own work and their own computational power facilities. Okay, so the topic today is related to afford the very delicate issues of students that has to carry on their career under the pandemic. You know that there were several problems related to this fact, and it's quite difficult. Mostly, the most delicate aspect of this issue is related to, let me say, to respect the student rights, in the sense that there were several solutions adopted in the various universities and centers. In most of the cases, these solutions were very invasive towards the students. And if we consider that students usually, at least honest people that prepare carefully their exam, maybe may suffer from anxiety because of the particular moment they are living, to be evaluated from professors and things like that. And if we add also some invasive techniques like, let's say, two cameras or very stressful approaches, of course their performance will go down quite rapidly. On the other hand, there is the need from the professor point of view not only to make their classes attractive, overcoming the problem of that we cannot see, we as teacher, we cannot see students while they are assisting in the class because of bandwidth issues and performance issues in general. So it's quite complicated to make our classes attractive. The other problem is how we can be confident that the students are behaving in a proper way when we try to assess their competencies. So it is a huge dilemma, and at least in Italy there were some actions of the privacy institution that is in charge of guarantee the privacy of citizens in general. There were some universities that has been fined because of they were using instruments that has been evaluated too much invasive respect to the students from one side. On the other side, there is the issues of the data transfer, because in most of the commercial solution, they own the data at their data center. So in most cases, those platforms are located outside Europe. So there were some issues related to this, also these technological aspects. Another aspect is related to the stability and reliability of the platform, in order to guarantee, for example, for an institution like the university, an infrastructure that can afford any type of concurrent access number by students, because it's impossible for from a central point of view to let's say regulate the access. So you may have some hours of the day that are very high peak usage from students, other part of the day where the usage is negligible. So of course the solution in this sense is to adopt the so-called horizontal scalable architecture, so that the system itself is able to instantiate proper number of infrastructure resources in order to afford the load, unexpected load, in an immediate way, so that people do not suffer from delays or other technical problems. So we are presenting our work because we believe that we take into deep consideration all critical aspects, and the infrastructure demonstrate to be reliable and a very good solution for solving the mentioned problem. In our case, the platform has been once presented to the commission of the governance of the university. It has been approved by the data protection officer after reviewing all technical aspects and even after making some changes with respect to our original approach. But the final results has been really really exciting in the sense that the platform demonstrate to be able to afford any critical aspect. So the project started late in the late 90s as a consequence of a European project called Leonardo, where the European Union was financing a platform to assess the abilities of students before, during, and after they carry out the professional stage in order to complete their education. So it was a project conducted in collaboration with 4 universities, and my group was in charge to deploy the code. After that, even in collaboration with some students that carry on their dissertation thesis on this issue of the assessment, we improved the platform progressively. And the crucial point was in 2015 when the European Chemistry Thematic Network is a group of European researchers that was investigating and implementing different solutions in order to make the assessment of chemistry knowledge always more attractive and efficient. So they adopted our platform to deploy their Ichem test exams. The Ichem tests are a sort of standard assessment on a set of libraries. The libraries cover the most common knowledge in chemistry, let's say general chemistry 1, general chemistry 2, physical chemistry, organic chemistry, and so on. And the student can perform the exam in order to get a proficiency certificate. And in some institution, it is used as a preliminary exam in order to access the masters, for example. So like in Milan, they carry on more than 2,000 exams per year because all students have to pass this Ichem test in order to be able to subscribe to the master course. So in 2015, we improve the platform. Before they were using a commercial solution, question mark perceptions, but because of the licensing limitation, they was implementing a very swayed procedure in order to carry on the exam. So when they adopt our platform, everything become very easy and very straightforward. And still they are using the platform for this purpose. Till 2019, only few professors at our university were using the platform. But when the pandemic occurred, the interest of the new nominate rector was very high towards the platform. So very suddenly, they made all procedure in order to make legally feasible to carry on the exam on the platform, in particular from remote. And from this moment, there were a very huge participation, both from teacher and also from students. We were in contact with the student association that collect feedback from the student side, and they were very collaborative with us and make and contribute to improve the software significantly. So in 2020, we developed a complete new module that is monitoring the student during the exam. I will show the detail quite soon. The other aspect is that we move from, let's say, a private cloud environment inside the department to Amazon Web Services. The reason is that in this way, students connecting from home were guaranteed to have a good bandwidth, and they were able to carry on the exam quite successfully. Of course, we made a deep restructuring of the code in order to benefit of the AWS mechanism, particularly oriented to high availability and let's say horizontally scaling approach. Fortunately, the AWS at the time activate the service in Italy, so we take benefit of the localization of data, because this was a big issue respect to data protection impact analysis. We carry on the DPIA, so the data protection impact analysis on the software, and was successful in the sense that there are no aspects that make critical the respect of privacy, and everything was evaluated positively. Later on, we implement also the gateway towards the unique identity management system of the University of Perugia that is common to also to other universities. So we share a common infrastructure that, for example, make possible to use the EduRoam facility through the Wi-Fi, and so the system is able to connect directly through the IDM. This is very useful for new registered user, because through this service we got the role of the user, so we can instantly activate, for example, teachers with the right role. The platform has, of course, different roles. Administrative is the most important one, but then we have the teacher role, which is which acts on questions and exams. There is an intermediate role, is the examiner, which who do not have the power to act on the questions, but has the power to deploy exams. So in case the teacher need help from collaborators, those will be defined as examiner in order to manage. This is the results after at the end of 2021 activity. So you can see the exams deployed during the various months. Was quite intensive activity. We deployed more than 50,000 exams in the whole year. You can see the number here. And you see the distribution. Of course, there are some months where at the end of the semester more intense than others. Let me say that from the cost point of view, the university paid more or less the same amount. I mean that the cost is related to the architecture we have adopted, and but the number, even with this number of exams, we are only using a low part of the capabilities of the infrastructure. So it may happen that 1 month we spend more giving less exams simply because we made some procedure, some backup, or some test that was time, bandwidth consuming and CPU consuming. Because on the cloud point of view, we pay exactly what we are using. So in terms of CPU cycles and bandwidth, but there are some minimum threshold that are still guaranteed. So we are below, essentially below this threshold with the adopted configuration. So you see that we have more than 500 teachers. Not all teachers adopted the platform because there are, I guess, in Perugia 1,500 teachers, and we have registered only 1/3, more or less. We have 25,000 students registered, and several students carry on more than one exam, because you see that the examined students is less than the total number of exams, as expected, because during a semester or during a year, a student carry on more than one exam. We have more than 1,000 different subjects with more than 38,000 questions, etc. And the platform is available at the moment in 9 languages. I mean, the software is structured in order that it's quite easy to localize questions, the software itself, of course, but also the questions, because from the same environment you can enter the text of the question and responses in several languages. And it's very, very useful and efficient way doing things. This is yesterday picture. Was quite an intense day, because during the afternoon there were a session with more than with 120 students carrying on the exam, while in the rest of the day the activity was quite sporadic, quite low. But this is very important, because we do not made any action in advance before so high number of students carry out the exam, and this is due to the architecture we adopted. So essentially we are using an architecture based on containers, Docker containers. So there is an application load balancer towards the users. So as soon as the load balancer reaches the minimum an alert level of usage, the load balancer instantiate a new Docker instance. So it takes, of course, some time in order to become active, but setting appropriately the threshold, there is no issue. So when the new Docker instance is active, the load balancer distribute on the existing new Docker instance the request from the users. One delicate aspect is related to the database. We use, I didn't mention before, sorry, but the software is open source, in the sense that we released the code on a GPL license, but the code available on GitHub, of course, do not contain those aspects related to the production infrastructure for a series of consideration. One of them is that our code has been used by someone in Austria that that essentially did a thing that is allowed by the GPL license, but they violate the license in the sense that they improve the code without redistributing to us the modes done. So at the moment we are quite conservative, and we release a version of the code that is not including this part, this very delicate related to the production environment. But the rest, the engine is publicly available. We are using MariaDB as database. We have several Docker instances in read that scales horizontally, but the writing is only related to one Docker instance, of course, in order to guarantee the reliability of the writing operations. And we are using also the Redis database in order to share the sessions from user. This is one delicate aspect, because when you deploy an architecture like that one in distributed on several containers, you don't know where the single instruction from the various clients in which container will be addressed by the load balancer. So Redis database is used in order to share the sessions information among the various Docker instances, so that it's possible that one user make an operation on one Docker and the subsequent in another one, but there is no issue, because all information are shared very efficiently in this type of very high performance database like Redis. The Docker nodes are instantiated in a private subnet, and those instances are managed by the network address translation protocol, so that to improve security of those images. So in this sense, and everything is distributed in two separate availability zones, so that we are able to also to guarantee not only the high availability, because the two zones are far enough in order to guarantee that because of natural disaster or things like that, the procedure is still active, because they are being in the Milan area, but they are far enough in order to and considered independent the one from the other, from geological and political aspects. So both can be estimate very available and reliable zones. Okay, and this is also conform to the disaster recovery approach. So we are able to maintain the information in any situation. Okay. The remote user, sorry, this miscellaneous. Okay. We are collecting various aspects regarding the performance of the student. So when when the teacher at the end of the exam analyze the page dedicated to the student, here we have all relevant information. We have the summary of events. I will show you, we are controlling four aspects. And here we have summarized we called mouse distraction, in the sense that when the application is started, the page goes in full screen, and if the user try to reduce the window, usually that means that the students try to access a different page, so that in order to catch information from internet, for example, in this case, the mouse distraction is activated, and there are a number of distractions allowed by the teacher. Usually, the default is three. Is three, not 0 or 1, because it may happen that a window may appear from the operating system without control of the student. So in order to avoid unpleasant situation, we provide as default three tentative that we accept. The fourth time, the exam is stopped by the system. This is the only case where when the system stops the exam, and the reason is that behind is that we want to prevent the user to stall question and responses. So if there are those type of behavior, we stop the exam. Then there are we call video events. That means that the user, as shown, we will show it later, is allowed to move, but if the movement is too rapid and goes outside some boundaries we fix, we call this video distraction. That means that the student turns the face too rapidly, and is collected distraction. But in this case, all those are information collected for the teacher. It's not there is no automatic action by the system. The most interesting part is this time lapse, because one of the four strategy is that we collect through the webcam low resolution images of the students. So during this, when the teacher follow the students that are carrying on the exam, the teacher is able to see what is happening. So each student will be monitored through these low resolution images. The low resolution images take us two big advantages. The first one is that the weight on the weight on the load of the network is reduced to the minimum, and the other is that we lose some details of the environment because of security and privacy issues. So you know that you are able to see some hidden information regarding the students. You can argue the social role, for example, seeing the details of the room, the order or the quality of the things in the room, and so on. So with the low resolution, we solve also this issue, and with a low frequency respect to the live view, we collect the same images for the teacher. So the teacher here can play like a video. It's not exactly a video, but it's a sequence of images where he can see the movements the students has carried out. So this is very important and here, in this case, there are no audio distraction, but we also record the audio in the room. So if there are sounds that exceeds the initial calibration will be reported to the teacher. So inside this page, the teacher is able to decide if the test is good or not, essentially. So if intersect some wrong behavior, something incorrect from the student side, he can block the exam, so invalidate the exam. In this case, all information is cleaned when or this very sensitive information are deleted once the teacher closes the exam session. So he archives the exam. During this operation, the results are sent if the teacher wants, are sent to the students with the outcome of the exam, and all those information are deleted from the file system, but except people that are blocked by the teacher or by the system. In this case, those information are ciphered, transferred in another file system, and kept just in case the student wants activate some legal procedure to act against the university. So in this case, the university has the possibility of recovering the information related to the case and discuss with lawyers and so on. Okay, so as announced before, the algorithms we adopted are essentially four. The first one is related to the focus of the page. And this is the most crucial part, very difficult to implement, also because you know that the internet market is changing very rapidly. And one problem we afforded quite recently is due to the proliferation of video broadcasting companies like Netflix, and they forced, in some sense, the browser developer in order to enable two windows inside the same session, so that people, you know, that if you are watching a film on Netflix and you change the window, afterwards the film stops. So considering this aspect, now it's possible to have two windows active in the same browser session. So this was very complicated to manage in order to guarantee that the student do not have open two windows, one for accessing, for example, the documentation, and the other for accessing the exam, and things like that. It's a continuous system in evolution in order to enable us to make the most interesting thing we are interested in, but let's say from the technical point of view, try to catch misuse and misbehaviors is quite complicated. Okay, the other part is related to sounds. This is the simplest way. We make an initial calibration of the audio and then record any sound exceeding this level. So it may happen usually, for example, that even if it's displayed in several parts, some students are reading and the questions and answering using their voice. So they discuss with the computer, let's say. So this is quite strange examples, but it's quite easy to understand that there is no misbehavior, because it may happen that the students read the question trying to receive a suggestion from someone in the room, but in other cases is a sort of bias they have, in the sense that they need to speak loudly in order to concentrate. So The other part is, as mentioned, is the live view session. I will show you an example from a video, and with the chat. The chat is very important because it enables the teacher to contact the students. So if the teacher is observing some misbehavior, can try to send an alert to the students. Sometimes they are trying to assume some misbehavior, but once contacted via chat, they change suddenly the behavior because they realize that they are under observation. So this is quite useful. From the other part, from the logic point of view, the chat enables the same things happen when the student is carrying on the exam in presence, because there is the teacher present. So the student raise the hand, and the teacher interact with him. So through the chat, we more or less we try to implement the same facility. And the other part, the last part, is related to the movement of the face. So we are using a neural network that runs on the client side, and this neural network evaluates the landmarks shown in the left part of the picture. So a different instance, those landmarks has been evaluated, and is shown in the center what has to happen. We have the two red square and the blue square. The blue square is the present scenario evaluated in the plan where the landmarks are. And if the students make a sudden movement, like in this case, and the blue square go outside the boundaries, a distraction is recorded. So it's a pure geometric approach, and there is no image recognition in this algorithm. So there are no sensitive information that can impact on the privacy point of view. Okay, so okay, in general, so this is related to the remote part, the remote control we are implementing in order to guarantee the validity of the exam. However, in general, also in presence, the platform enables to organize. The teacher can define the various questions. For example, sorry, this is in Italian. This is one of my courses, network architecture. So the teacher defined the subject. Then the subject is divided into topic. This is very useful because then I can implement a different settings that allows me, for example, to make in itinerary exams. So, for example, during the semester, we are used to make a stop at the mid of the semester. So during this stop, for example, the various professor may organize some intermediate exam in order so that if the student pass this intermediate test, at the end can pass the exam quite easily. So the division in topic is crucial for this purpose, because I can identify the topics before of the first part of the course and the topics of the second part, and then proceed. Oh, I'm running out of time, I guess. So the questions in general are classified by topic, by type of question. We have 10 type of questions, and difficulty. So at the end, the teacher is able to different tests. Those are the type of the question we enable. So multiple choice is quite common. One question, one response is true, the other are false. Multiple response is the most intriguing because there is a questions, there are several responses, some are true, the other are false. Yes, no, easy, true, false, same. Essay question allows an open text. Numeric as a numeric answer. Text match and text match case sensitive is essentially from language tests. So in order to assess the writing of people. Hotspot is very nice because you have a picture and the student has to indicate the part of the picture related to the question. So, for example, it's quite used in chemistry because there are very complex formulas, so that you can ask where is the given compound, a given functional group, and so on. But the most interesting is the QR code one, because we implemented it just in 2020. And this enabled the student to carry on the exams like in presence when they use written paper. So in this case, the student has to write on paper, let's say, discuss the theorem about blah, 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 blah. So they write their dissertation on paper and identified with a mobile phone a QR code. They are able to load, make picture of the paper and load into the system. So the images are part of the exam made by the student. So it's the unique correspondence. It's very, very interesting, and mathematics and chemistry professor appreciate a lot. This is the way we can make the settings for an exam. We can decide how many questions, we want to have, which is the difference among the number of questions easy, medium, hard. And we even can make a different weight because some teacher are demand a different weight for easy, medium, and hard questions. And this is the distribution in the various topic. And you can select how many questions you want in the various categories. Okay, then this is once define the setting, once of course define the questions and so on, then the settings, then this is a given session of exam. The teacher can express the title so that the student can identify. More often teacher put their names because there are several courses with the same title. In this case, they can choose the right one. The subject, the setting adopted, there is a test that says, okay, settings are okay, and the date of the exam, the time. And then the teacher can choose if from remote or in presence. If from remote, of course, activate those options. So to control the mouse and video recording. Then it's possible to shuffle the questions. Otherwise, the questions are delivered topic by topic. This is a regulation that the European Commission assess, saying that students are more facilitated if they respond to the question of the same topic altogether. But if the teacher wants, he can shuffle. He can one question at a time can be shown or altogether. And then in some cases, people want the student upload the drawings they made during the exam in order to verify the logical percourse they have followed. Then it's possible to attach a video or a file or sound. This is for language purposes. Of course, this can be used all for in-presence exam and also for remote exams. Here we have the list of exams. So the teacher may have the various exam deployed. This is from administrator point of view, so I see all the exam in these dates. All of them are scheduled for April and yesterday, today. In each exam there is a password the teacher provide to the students. When we deploy exams from remote, usually we meet the student using WebEx or another video conferencing tool. We explain the procedure and we provide the password so they can enter this password to access the exam. Here you can see the symbols. This is to modify the settings of the exam, and this is to monitor the students. Accessing this link, you have the list of students registered. In this case, the exam has been carried out, so you have also the outcome. So how many video events, audio events, mouse events, and so on. And this is the score, the time used, and this is the score made by this student finished, the other still not. So and clicking on this icon you can see the events recorded, and then accessing this pencil you can see the final responses. If the teacher click on live view, we'll see the live view. I will show you now. This is the live view picture, so you see all students and you can monitor them. If you want to contact them, you click on the image and type a message is directed to the students. It's very powerful tool, fantastic. You can see everything is happening. So let's now see the things from the student point of view. So when the student enter, you see the subject for which there are exams available. So click on the right exams, and then in this case I made the test, sorry, and I used a demo test. There are also demo tests in order to enable the students to try the system before, to see if there are technical problems and so on and so forth. So in this case I registered to this exam demo test, clicking on the pencil. The system asked me the transfer of consent, so I have to click on confirm in order to provide the consent, otherwise I cannot access the exam. So so I can register to the exam in any time. When I start clicking on the green arrow, I will access this page. Very important. There are very important aspects here. So there is, first of all, there is the request from accessing the microphone and camera. This is crucial, otherwise the system won't work. So the student has to provide the consent. Here can write the password of the exam in order to access the questions. And here is very important because there are still some instructions regarding how they have to behave, and they have to click here. Should be the camera, sorry, in this picture is not shown, but when I provide, okay, when I provide the consent to the camera, this is what the people see, the student can see what the system see from the camera, and click the photo at the beginning of the exam and the ID card, so that the teacher can identify him. Provide a password and enter the exam. So there is this page where the system, the student can see what the system is doing. It will use identify the webcam, will run the neural network in order to evaluate the landmarks and identify the microphone and so on. When everything is done, the exam can start. So appear this message, the user click on start. You see that in the lower corner, the student see what the system is seeing from the camera. So when they press start, the question arrives. So he can respond to the various questions. There is a time going down. Then, okay, he submitted the test. At the end, the teacher can see what happened. Here is the list of students, the time, the score, and so on. And entering one row, you see the provided responses and the related score. In this case, I mentioned before the multiple response was the most intriguing because in this case, there is an internal balancing between correct and wrong answers. So he responded correctly, 0.5. Here, this response is wrong, minus 0.4. The score, resulting score is 0.1. So when they respond correctly, of course. At the end, at the bottom of the page, the teacher can, if he want, can adjust the score, for example, because can observe that there is some problem in the question, for example, and want to change, he can change the score and provide the final evaluation. If the student, if the teacher clicks on this on the report, he has the list of students with all information, and in particular, he got the percentage of good responses in the various topic. This is useful because the teacher can see if there are some topic or questions that are wrongly responded, he can make action because probably there is something wrong in the question, or when he explained a concept was not enough clear. So this is very important. It's a feedback for the teacher regarding the goodness of the class deployed. Okay, I don't know if I have time for a short video. I have to change the sharing at that point, probably. Oh my God. I try to, sorry, I try to change the sharing at this point. Sorry. Is the video? Oh my God. Can you see the video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is the a screenshot from the live view, so the teacher can enlarge or reduce the, and this is the chat. So you see the interaction with the students. This is the panel to monitor the outcome. Those are the responses. So the teacher can easily understand what happened during the test. And this is what I said before, the time lapse. So it's a summary of the action the student did. Very, very useful to understand what happened. And those are the distractions registered, but are quite, see, the hand in front of the face, things like that. But the teacher can understand what happened, if there were misuse or not from those information. This is an example of how to create a question? The various language? I want to say also that during the development we tried to adhere at the 100% to the standards. So prefer to use HTML5 character instead of icons. Everything is designed to respect privacy and to have the maximum performance available. So adopting the minimal load possible. So I guess this is one of the most interesting achievements we had. Okay, this how to write the question. Is the example of entering the title. Now the responses. Okay. One important issue is that the number of responses should be constant among the different questions in order to minimize the variance. And the teacher has a preview in the lower part. Sorry. Okay, we acknowledge the European Chemistry Thematic Network because financed us and allow us to improve the system, and also the ICCSA not-for-profit organization because they cover the initial cost of the infrastructure during the university tests. So this is the end of my presentation. We guess that the e-assessment tools are a very delicate aspect because there are several commercial solutions that are quite invasive with respect to students. And in the contrast, is something has to be increased because there are a lot of advantages. For example, we learned that after the pandemic, we may maintain the remote possibility of carrying on the exam, for example, for students at the hospital or because they are suffering some disease, they can continue to have their career in a right way. So this is something very important towards the Horizon 2020 goals regarding digitization, education and training. And there are advantages for students and also for teachers. Thank you. If you have any question, please.
Thank you very much, Professor.
If there are questions, please.
Yes. From participant side, any question regarding? And you can post your question in the chat box. And this topic is very useful for the current pandemic situations. Now all the exams conducting in the online. and Professor told how to secure the exams, how to monitoring the exam, all the things. Any questions from? Yes.
So we have a question from participant Pranav. Does the system detect the opening of console?
Sir, one question from participant side. Pranav, you can unmute and ask your question.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, does this system detect the opening of the console like in the developer tools or the inspect element? Because the system detects mouse clicks, but then like a harmless right click or left click would be different from actually opening the console, right? Opening the console and trying to access would be a completely different, a serious thing. How does the system differentiate these?
Sorry, I didn't got the question.
Yeah, for any person can right click and open the console, right, for a web page.
Ah, you mean okay? How to
Yeah,
prevent? How to prevent it? We
yeah,
intercept this fact.
yeah. Would
If the
this
system,
system differentiate between the clicks, normal mouse clicks, and then opening the console, or would they be considered the same?
we are able to intercept if the user is accessing the console because the browser notify this fact. So this is the I didn't mention before, but this is the other case in which the exam is stopped.
So opening the console would end the exam, right? Like stopping, or would it notify the teacher?
During the exam,
Yeah.
if the user open the console, the exam is stopped. Yeah.
Sir,
Did I answer? Did I
yeah,
answer
yeah,
your question? Okay.
yeah. That was my question, sir. Yeah, can I also ask another thing? Like, why did you specifically choose jQuery? Like, over since many of jQuery's features are now available in normal JavaScript itself, why did you choose jQuery in specific?
Well, essentially, it's a historic reason, and then we continue to use this library. Was as I mentioned, some parts are quite old, but however, if they do not have proven to have security concern, we maintained this code. So jQuery was one of at the moment when we started the development was the most common library. I know that now there are new platform, but you know it's quite costly to rewrite all the engine. We are focused on preventing, of course, attacks as far as we know. We all queries are protected against misuse, but you know, it's a continual battle in the sense that
Yeah, yes, sir, I understand. Because
yeah,
my concern was jQuery was sometimes vulnerable to these insertion attacks, XSS attacks.
okay,
Yes,
okay, I
that was
understand.
my concern.
I understand. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
And any question from participant side? Okay, thank you, Professor.
Thank you to you.
On the behalf of the Department of Artificial Intelligence. On the behalf of the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science and the entire fraternity of the Institute, I give a really heartfelt vote of thanks to our chief guest, Honorable Oswald Gesky, who spent his time gracing the occasion. I must mention a profound sense of appreciation for sharing with us an enlightening session. We are all engaged with your highly knowledgeable words, sir. We are happy to have you with us today, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you for your nice words. Thank you.
Request, please stay in the meeting, and we are conducting the virtual validity function, sir, in front of you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And this software is designed by our first year student, Mr. Bruno. Just before the person asked us too many questions, the design by Bruno. Now I can see the virtual validity function. Okay, and right now we are issuing some certificate to the participants, and rest of the certificate we will issue later on, either tomorrow. So first we call upon receive the certificate Professor C. Valliyammi from Anna University. Once click the generate, the certificate is generated, sir. And next participants, Radha. Certificate is generated, sir. And we'll provide the link to all the participants. The participants, they can download their certificate through link. Okay. And next certificate, Mr. Manivannan. Don Bosco College. And next certificate we will issue Anita. Okay, thank you, Professor. And now we request from participants side, and any participants can share your thought about our conference or share some feedback about our conference.
Hello, sir. Can I share my?
Yes. Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aksha Aram. I had presented a paper on artificial intelligence-based voltage stability assessment of smart microgrid, and my paper ID was 22. I'm glad to provide you with my feedback about the conference. My overall experience has been an amazing, and the conference was well organized in a good scale and solid contents and presentation. For me, the conference generated a lot of ideas about how to continue to expand my skill and the areas that I can work on. I got the chance to interact with a lot of persons with rich knowledge like yourself, sir. And I would like to compliment the organizing committee who are in touch with me constantly and shared all the procedures and protocols at every junctions. It was really a wonderful experience for me personally, as this is my first online conference. I do believe everyone who attended the conference are satisfied with the outcome of the conference. And this was only possible because of the organizers who had put their best efforts to organizing it in the best possible manner. I'm looking forward to actively participate in the events that are coming soon. Thank you so much.
And any participants from
I
participant
also
side?
want to say something.
Yes. Ma'am, you are from?
I'm from Turkey. And thank you very much for well organized conference. And this is also my first online conference. I'm really enjoy it and learn something from you and all the participants. I want to send my thanks to everyone, and it's really pleasure to being with you these 2 days. Thank you very much.
Any participants? Arnima, ma'am, you want? Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this was my first conference ever in life. So I'm very, very I owe you guys a lot of thanks for letting me participate in this one. I needed a lot of courage to do this. It was very beautifully organized, and I very much got to learn a lot from this first conference I had. Everyone tends to remember the first conference, first paper. So this one was mine. I'm very, very thankful. It was a beautiful event. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And any participants want to share any idea? Yes. Paisa, you want to say something?
Yes,
Go
sir.
on.
It
Yes.
was an excellent conference. The presentations covered a wide range of topics, and yet we were all connected by a common research interest. The socializing opportunities afforded by a fine scheduling allowed me to form connections with other professionals in our rarefied field. I want to thank all of you for your very much for your excellent management of what has turned out to be a successful and highly stimulating conference. I'm sure that everyone must have told you this. Such a conference involves enormous amounts of time and energy. You must have been working so hard lately for everything. Thank you so much.
From participant side, any participants you want to share? And importance, anything about our conference? Okay. Next, Sabita, you can say the vote of thanks.
The reward of a thing well done is having done it. However, we would be falling short of our duty if we do not recognize a thing well done and encourage it. I would like to take this opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks. On the behalf of the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, I extend my sincerest thanks to our management, Chairman Dr. R. Shivakumar sir, Co-Chairman Mr. Niranjan, Director Seturaman sir, Chief Director, Vice Principal, Principal, Dean Academics, and all head of departments for their support in successful completion of International Virtual Conference on Machine Learning Application in Applied Science and Mathematics, Ivcmasm 2022. On the behalf of the Ishwar Engineering College and the entire fraternity of the college, I express my gratitude to all the chief guests of the sessions who was kind enough to accept our invitation and spare their precious time for us. We had Senior Assistant Professor Mr. Maria Ajish, Dr. Jayachandran, Dr. Usha Kritika ma'am, Dr. Valliyamai, Dr. Ponsi, Mr. Arun Chelvan. Thank you all for giving your time to us. I would like to thank our speakers, Stephen Olatunde Olabisi Professor, and Dr. Georgetta Gunia, Jian Kunhu, Dr. Gervasi. I express my heartfelt gratitude to our beloved head of department, Dr. Kanagasubbaraja sir, for his guidance and support throughout the conference. I also thank our assistant professor Revati ma'am and Dr. Vijayaraj sir for their support in coordinating the conference. Last but not least, I extend my gratefulness to the students committee members, Ashwin, Sanjay Karthik, Manoj Kiran, Jayapriyan, Vasant, Sujit, Yogesh, Pelluru Kirtan, Kanishka, Indusha, Shweta, Janani, Tejashwini, Makita Shri, Sharon Jennifer, Shrutileka, and Deepti. I thank all the participants for their effective participation who made this conference a great success. We have now reached the end of the valedictory function. There is an end to everything, but we believe that there is never an end but always a beginning. What's rare is the courage to take up the path. If you are not prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with anything original. Congratulations to all the scholars and researchers who made this conference an immense success. Thank you all for your great participation.
And thank you very much all the participants for registering our conference. Thank you very much. And thank you, Professor. Okay. So we will share the feedback form in the WhatsApp group. I request all the participants kindly fill the feedback form, and certificate and proceedings we will issue within 1 or 2 days. Okay, almost the 95% all work completed, and we will issue the certificate and proceedings, that is within 1 or 2 days. Thank you all. Okay. Professor? Sir, now you can unmute.
Cannot.
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, thank you so much for your kind invitation and your words. Sorry, but I muted myself because I was, and I didn't realize that I cannot unmute. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So thank you all. Now end of validity function.